You could like put a sleeping bag on them upside down, so they get the feeling of what it's like to be eaten by the Banderhobb.
Oh, you're a player?
Yes,
Ooh.
the flavor's there.
Yeah.
They can't complain.
You fill it with Vaseline.
Oh, the
God.
Just-
oh, and you can use it for other stuff. Whenever anybody gets swallowed, and you're like, up into the Vaseline sleeping bag.
You haven't watched that in months.
I know. That's what it feels like.
Oh, I'm glad you guys are enjoying my purple worm campaign. Everybody's just sitting around with Vaseline bags on their heads.
Welcome to Monsters and Multiclass, your Dungeons & Dragons fix. I'm Kevin Odie,
I'm Jared Bornagle.
And I'm Will Melton.
and we'll be hanging out with you for the next hour to talk about anything and everything D&D related. This episode, we're taking a look at the Sorcerer Wizard Multiclass, and then later on, the Banderhobb from Volo's Guide to Monsters. So pull up a chair and stick around.
Is it Waldo's Guide to Monsters?
Yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
I did it, guys.
Yeah, you know, I was actually going to say, Kevin, you were really good at just switching that from weekly to just pretty generic. That's impressive because when we first started, it took you like 2 months to get that opening down, and now you've got it like locked in. You can change it around. I'm impressed.
Now I'm a professional,
Yeah, it's good.
except for quite literally not.
No, we don't think we've made a cent off of this.
That's fine.
No.
Gotta pay those hosting fees.
Yeah, we've lost money, but that's okay. It's a product of love. All right, so this week, I'm not good at it. This
But
episode,
it is also this week.
it is also this week. All right,
It's not wrong.
this time around, we're going to be talking about the Wizard and the Sorcerer multi-class. So the Wizard is the classic spellcaster. They have a deep arcane knowledge. They spend most of their life researching the arcane and teach themselves magic or learn by somebody else. The Sorcerer is more of a natural talent when it comes to magic. They mostly rely on their meta magic skill to separate themselves from the Wizard. I think the requirements are intelligence 13 for a Wizard and 13 charisma for a Sorcerer. So let's go ahead and get some first thoughts on this multiclass. Will?
This is in the running, probably for worst, I think. They seem like the almost stereotypical antagonist classes. Like, I'm a nerd and I studied all my magic, and then the sorcerers busts in and is like, ha ha, I got dragon blood or something. Like, found a rock in the forest and it started talking to me. It's like, but they get the exact same damn thing in totally opposite ways.
Right.
In it just, there's very little difference here.
Yeah. Kevin?
For once, Will is actually the more optimistic one than me. I will, before we even discuss it, hands down say this will probably, very, very likely be the worst multi-class combination we discuss throughout this entire podcast. I cannot think of one single combination of things where it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense to slow down my spell progression levels and have to go with all these ridiculous attribute stats and whatever. For these two abilities, it's like, just go full sorcerer or full wizard. It's
So
fine.
let's talk about that a little bit. You specifically said slowing down your progression. That's always a really big thing when it comes to spellcasters, especially full spellcasters. Any time that you take a level out of that spellcaster, you are holding back your chance of learning a higher level spell in that class. So even though your spell slots go up in a multi-class, just based on your overall full spellcaster level, you have to wait until you're, let's say, 5th level in a wizard to take a 3rd level wizard spell. So dipping out of that at any point is just keeping you from going up in that, again, really useful spell progression, even if your spell slots are going up. I just don't see much benefit to having all these spell slots if you're not able to cast high level spells.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can upcast stuff. You can upcast lower level things into it, but
Right.
yeah, there's a really good chance you will end up with spell slots that you do not have spells known for.
The only thing that is nice is with Sorcerer, meta magic is used by the sorcery points, so you can convert your spell slots into sorcery points. So officially, you could take those higher level spell slots, turn those into sorcery points, and then have more potent lower level spells, but Wouldn't you rather just a higher level spell?
When
Yeah.
in any campaign, it's like, oh, I wish I could just like upcast the shit out of these spells all the time. It's like the last issue you run
what
into.
Jared's saying is that you convert these high level spell slots that you don't have known spells for into sorcery points, which you then use for more meta magic options. But you don't need to multi-class into a wizard to do that.
No.
You're actually just taking the choice out of it. A full sorcerer could still choose to do that.
Right.
While also having the option of still being able to cast these high level spells when needed anyways.
Right.
So
right.
there's no benefit. to
No,
that.
you're almost entirely just taking, except for the things that, yeah, as a sorcerer, it definitely makes sense. As a wizard, it could give you something, like a little bit. Like if you went up to, 3 levels is when you get, no, 2 levels is when you get meta magic as a sorcerer.
Well, you get the sorcery points. 3rd level is actual meta magic.
Right.
It's a little weird.
Okay. So you'd need the meta magic to actually do anything interesting with the sorcery points. So once you get that meta magic, so 3 level dip out of wizard into sorcerer just for meta magic, now you can do some interesting things. You can twin spells, which most of the time is just upcasting them. That's when you can, if something is targeting a single target, you can put it on 2. Distance spell, you can increase the range of your spell. Very infrequent that's ever a problem. I feel like most spells have something good, but
I mean, meta magics are great.
Right.
They really are. There's pretty much all, I think some are better than others, but there's definitely tons of them that have use. I'm not saying you wouldn't get use out of getting the meta magic abilities, but just go sorcerer then. Why start wizard and dip into sorcerer? Just go sorcerer. The spell list is very similar. Sure, you have a little less spells, but then you get the meta magic options, and your sorcery points match your sorcerer level.
Mm-hmm.
So if you dip into it 3 levels, you're gonna have 3 meta sorcery points.
Unless you're then converting spell slots into sorcery points. That's
Which
what
is
I'm
the
saying.
least efficient magic factory you could probably build.
I'm not saying it's efficient. I'm just saying things you can
So,
do with it.
Here's the question: we said the spell list is similar. It's
Very.
damn near identical, but the wizards just got a few like saucy options, and none of them are really combat spells, which is the issue because I don't think anything on the wizard spell list is combat eligible for meta magic that isn't on the sorcerer spell or spell list. It's all just flavor shit.
Well, one thing that's nice about wizard is that they learn and prepare spells, so they actually get a lot more versatility when it comes to what spells they can cast and what they can prepare for a day. Whereas a sorcerer, you just learn whatever spells and you're stuck with that. So that's some benefit once again, as you get some more versatility in what spells you can cast and being able to switch them around. Even a sorcerer getting access to a spell book and being able to learn more spells could be useful, but the issue is they can only learn up to the wizard level that they have. So they could get a whole bunch of first level wizard spells, which could make them a lot more versatile out of combat, but not looking at a huge gain there.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things you realize quickly when you start playing at higher levels. It's like the lower level spells, just not that great.
They don't come up that much.
You'll use them like every combat, but it's like not something you think about. And there's just so many better options.
But I'm specifically talking about out of combat stuff.
Out of combat, yeah, the lower level ones are not game changers at all.
Right. I mean, alarm is nice, but now that we're level 12 and out of the abyss, I'm not like, oh man, if we get snuck up on in the middle of the night.
I've stopped giving a shit. It's like, whatever, man.
And sorcerers get a bunch of that stuff anyways.
Yeah.
And then so there's the one big thing wizards have is, as you said, they learn a significantly more spells, and then they can copy spells in a spell book and stuff like that.
And ritual casting.
Sorcerers don't get ritual casting?
No, they do not.
Okay, sure, ritual casting, so that's nice. But by multi-classing, you're slowing down your wizard levels, which is slowing down your wizard spells known in that spell progression, so you're still not really better off anyways. You don't have that wider pool of spells.
No, I
mean, I didn't
totally
sit down
agree.
and work out the math, so maybe it's slightly more, but it's not like you have your full list pool of wizard spells as a 10th level caster as only a 5th level wizard, 5th level sorcerer or something. Yeah, you have less.
Right.
You'll get a shit ton of cantrips.
Yeah. You'll have a lot of cantrips.
7 cantrips at level 2, level 1 wizard, level 1 sorcerer.
That was actually one of my favorite Reddit posts I've seen in a very long time. Was like, can you collect every cantrip in the game? Foolishly or not, if you multi-class just like every other level and take like weird feats, can you get almost every cantrip? And the answer is almost yes.
Oh.
All right. You can get like 47 cantrips. That will help you never. That will actually ruin your character, but it can be done. But yeah, this is another situation. Like, I don't know. There's so many better options.
Now, okay, I will say though that so you get the big thing is like you're slowing down your spell progression. I totally get that, but there is a lot of benefit, or can be some benefit, from dipping 2 levels into wizard. So if a sorcerer was going up, and I think role playing wise, because we always like to look at that as well, it could make a lot of sense for a sorcerer to want to go into wizard. Because sorcery is a lot of times you're born into something. You might not fully understand the magic that comes out of you. And I think that wizard is a great outlet for that of, I want to understand it. I want to actually control what I'm doing. So I think a 2-level dip into wizard could actually benefit sorcerers a little bit. And if you get to that mythical 20, you're not really missing out on much. Level 20 for a sorcerer is you get 4 sorcery points back per short rest. Pretty bland. By that point, you already have a lot of sorcery points, and I don't think that you're going to miss out that much on those at all. 19th level is an ability score increase, and you get 9th level spells at 17th level. So even if we're talking like really late game, you're really not missing much by going out of sorcerer and into something else. I think wizard does provide something that others might. You're still going to have all of the spell slots because it's 2 full spellcasters. All you're getting is some nice early level benefits from wizard.
I'm not totally disagreeing with you on that, but to get the benefit of that, you got to do it early.
Yeah,
like
but I
what
think
you
could
get
wait.
out of the wizard dip does not help a 19th level character.
No, I agree. I think it's something that you could probably do closer to something like 5th level, and I don't think you'd really be too far back. I mean, 5th level, you get your 3rd level spells, and then you might be a couple spell levels behind, especially if you do 2 into wizard, then it would take you'd be 2 levels behind spellcasting wise. So you wouldn't have your 4th level spells in sorcerer yet. But again, you get abjuration would suck. That's one that just going through alphabetical. But something like the evocation wizard, they're basically getting the careful meta magic for free.
Can you, I don't know if we addressed this, can you apply meta magic to non-sorcery?
Yes. Yeah, no issues there.
It still doesn't matter because
They're basically the same.
yeah, you're
spells.
casting
Yeah.
the same name.
So yeah,
Right.
going all the way to level 20, sure, dipping out 2 levels. So you're an 18 level sorcerer and then 2 whatever. It's not a big deal. But then we're dealing with that mythical level 20. We never really work off of that where at level 20 this really comes online.
I'm
where,
not dealing with that. I'm saying at 5th level.
See, I
going
couldn't
into-
disagree more. You would fall so far behind for so little benefit.
For 2 levels, an evocation
Yeah.
wizard getting the careful spell at all times, not having to use meta magic.
I don't think it's at all times.
The
Isn't there a limit to that?
No,
No?
it's up to your intelligence
Yeah.
modifier
So then-
and how many creatures you can hold it from.
Well, you said an evocation wizard getting it at all times. You mean, so then you're an evocation wizard, so you already have it.
No, you
So
go
you're a
2 level
sorcerer.
dip into evocation
Then
wizard.
I would just say, just be an evocation wizard and stick with that. It's like, so it's really just comes down to chasing these abilities where like, oh, I want the Portent Dice and I want the Tides of Chaos of Wild Magic Surge. It's like, sure, I guess that's kind of neat. Or yeah, the evocation wizard sculpted spells. And you sure that's not 6th level?
That's
Positive.
2nd level.
It's second.
Second
Okay. And then the Draconic Sorcerer's toughness and AC. It's like, it's okay, I guess, but I still think you're much better off picking one and going with it.
Right, but once again, I'm talking about including a roleplay perspective of a sorcerer who wants to have a better understanding of their magic, goes into wizard for 2 levels. Evocation wouldn't be a bad one. Now you've got some sculpting that you can, kind of have careful at all times. You don't need to take that meta magic ability.
I'll say this. That's like, that idea fits really well role playing wise, but mechanically speaking, this is a horrible way to express it.
Yeah, that's fine, but we are talking about the
We are
sorcerer
stuck
wizard
with it, yeah.
multiclass.
But yeah, that's
So-
and I will say that is the only one that is even remotely acceptable. I don't think like the opposite of a wizard going sorcerer. I think that's one of the least sensible things I've heard
No.
since the warlock paladin.
Yeah, I can't think of many reasons. Wizard to sorcerer, even role playing wise, I think it would be pretty campy.
You touch something unstable and you become a wild magic sorcerer and
Right.
you're the careful wizard who have the perfectly crafted spells. And now you're a little unhinged, but you can kind of manipulate things a bit more. And
Or you're like, oh, it was actually inside me the entire time. I do have a draconic bloodline, and it just happened to come out at 5th level.
I'm the chosen one.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's, I won't say that that's wrong to play, but it is a little campy. The only benefit I see mechanically is if you were a wizard and you dipped into sorcerer draconic, then you could get the AC for draconic bloodline. You don't have to cast your mage armor every day.
Yeah. Like I said, there's some. It just it really comes down to the character concepts.
Mm-hmm.
I mechanically I would never really recommend this unless you're really chasing specific abilities.
No, and I mean it's every time you've got 2 full spellcasters especially with different spellcasting abilities,
Right.
It's almost impossible to justify mechanically.
Yeah, well, we've done it in the past, but yeah, we haven't even talked about this one. So on top of slowing down spell progression and kind of watering down what they have available, you're now become a very mad character where you need high intelligence and high charisma.
Mm-hmm.
And most likely, so a lot of times you could get away with it. Like I'm starting up a paladin rogue who's also an arcane trickster, so they need charisma and intelligence for spell casting, but the intelligence is 8. Because
Right.
it doesn't matter. He's not taking any arcane trickster spells that require saves or attacks.
Right.
It's all out of combat stuff. So that's kind of how you could get away with it a lot. But with sorcerer wizard, it's like I think you'd be very hard pressed to keep one of those at 13
Mhm.
and only take, non-combat, non-save, non-attack spells.
Maybe not impossible. I think there's a lot you can get out of a low dip in wizard that's more out of combat stuff, or even in combat that doesn't rely on it. Shield is one I'm thinking of. I know you can get that as sorcerer. And I'm saying this comes down to crafting your character
what are
carefully.
these spells that we're missing out on? It's like
That
they exist. I just don't know them. Wizards get everything, and sorcerers just kind of don't.
Right, yeah. I say it'd be definitely picking up. I don't believe that sorcerers get find familiar.
They don't.
So
that's wizard only.
So that's one that's good. I think I could find 6 spells at first level for a wizard that I would want that a sorcerer doesn't get. Or that I would have wanted as a sorcerer and I can no longer justify.
Or you take the magic initiative feat.
Yeah, you could probably do it from feats.
Yeah. Yeah, pick wizard and then you get find familiar.
Do they get ritual casting then too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
would say, yeah. So ritual. I didn't realize sorcerers didn't get ritual casting. That is nice.
Yeah.
The ability to ritual cast is nice, but you could just do a feat if you really want that instead of a full multi-class.
I think that's pretty fair. Yeah.
Here's another kicker for that idea is that if you dip 3 levels into Warlock, you get the Pact of the Tome, which is basically magic initiative with all the Warlock stuff on it.
Yeah, but now you have to sell your soul to
Okay, who gives
some
a shit,
patron.
man?
It's celestial warlock. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
You can be a good evil.
Yeah.
thing. I don't
I just say, well, yeah, then the spellcasting abilities line up, or or you were saying dip the two levels out of sorcerer because the 19 and 20 aren't that great.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably better off going paladin or bard, but I know that's not what we're doing.
Yes,
but,
there are better options, but we're not here to talk
but we
about
need to
those
look
better
at it in the
options.
greater
Yeah,
context.
yeah.
We can't
We have to
recommend
acknowledge
something when there's just inherently better option out
No.
there.
I think put it on the record. I do not recommend going into the sorcerer wizard multi-class. But if you are really, really keen on it, there are ways you can do it.
If you're really, really keen on it, reevaluate what you've concluded and then just dip Warlock, man.
I think that you're missing out on the fact that if this comes up, it is going to be because of role-playing reasons. And we can't account for every single person's game and what happens in it.
I'm a role-playing supremacist where that's my favorite part, but this is my least favorite role-playing. It's I didn't understand my magic. That's the fun thing about a sorcerer. You're throwing away why that's an interesting class option. It's I gotta understand myself. No, then you're just a wizard, man.
Well, that's just your opinion, man.
I know. But my opinion's the best.
I think you do bring up a fantastic point, though, Kevin, where Magic Initiate is probably a better way to go about it, because if you start trying to chase later features as a wizard, now you're just wasting your time. You're much better off just taking that feat, which I don't know if you're pulling up right now. I don't remember the specifics around Magic Initiate, but you get at the very least a feat. Or not the feat. What a surprise. You get a feat. You get ritual casting. I know that. You also get to pull some spells and cantrips, I think. Are you looking it up?
Oh no, I was.
Oh, you're not?
I was looking up something else. Sorry.
I'm trying to remember what Magic Initiate does.
Pull it up real quick. Bunch of filler noise here because silence is terrible. Oh, I was covering for you. I thought you were looking it up.
Oh,
Wow, it's going to keep going.
Magic.
So if you like our podcast, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That's monsters_multi. If you aren't subscribed yet on Google Play or
in
iTunes,
addition, choose one first level spell from the same list. So yeah, you choose Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard, and you learn 2 cantrips of your choice from this spell list. Then you also gain a first level from the same list. You could cast it at its lowest level. Once you cast it, you must finish a long rest before you cast it again using this feat.
So it might actually be better to go into one level of Wizard than taking the Magic Initiate.
Well, if you're like chasing Find Familiar, though, it's like then it doesn't matter.
What's the spellcasting modifier?
It matches.
Oh.
So Charisma for Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wisdom for Cleric, Intelligence for Wizard.
Right, but going 1 into Wizard, but you don't need the... there's no 13 int requirement.
Yeah,
that's the big thing.
That's a hard requirement.
If for some reason you have the 13 int, then I think it's better to go 1 into Wizard, because once again, you're getting ritual.
Int?
I'm not saying you wouldn't dump int. I'm saying if the stars have aligned and you have to do a podcast about a sorcerer wizard.
Yeah, no, if the stars have aligned for your sorcerer wizard, they've aligned against you, not for you.
Right, because you should be focusing on something like Constitution. You should be focusing on dexterity.
Dex is,
for your mage armor.
You've got 2 things that are like in front of both of these that you are losing out just by doing this multiclass. Like,
definitely
out of the gate.
Right.
Right. Interesting thing though here. So what I was looking up was the spell book, specifically the wording on what spells you could copy into it. So when wizards right away, level 1, have the ability to copy spells they find, other wizard spells they find into their spell book, and it costs money and time and all that. But that's how they can learn them, and then it's on their list to prepare. So it says, when you find a wizard spell of first level or higher, you can add it to your spell book if it is of a spell level you could prepare, and if you could spare the time to decipher and copy it. So all the requirements is if it's of a spell level you could prepare.
Oh.
Which I think if you have the slots...
So
like you can't, when you level up and gain like another 2 wizard spells, because every level up to gain 2 wizard spells known, you have to, it has to be within a level that you know. If you're 5th level, 3rd level spell or less wizard, even if you're like a 10th level caster overall. But when it comes to pairing, if you're 10th level and find a 4th level spell, I think you might be able to.
That's kind of like a maybe. That seems like something that probably needs to be clarified.
Yeah, I would really want to look into that clarification. But if that's true, that would actually be pretty worthwhile.
So then here in the preparing and casting spells, so you prepare the list of wizard spells that are available for you to cast. To do so, choose a number of wizard spells from your spell book equal to your intelligence modifier plus your wizard level. The spells must be of a level for which you have spell slots.
Okay.
That's end of story.
For which you have spell slots, not wizard spell slots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's not specifics. That's not differentiated anyways.
No, but I mean, it's not game breaking, that's for sure.
No, but it's nice.
Interesting.
I think that definitely, once again, is a win in the Wizard Sorcerer book, in the long list of losses.
And really any wizard multiclass.
Yeah.
That kind of, I wish we would have picked up on that sooner, because we've done other ones and always talked about slowing down spell progression. Mm-hmm. This is a way to boost it a bit. But it kind of, a lot of it relies on your DM giving you these spells.
We have played multiple campaigns where the idea of a wizard spell like coming up in text did not exist. The exception has been actually Out of the Abyss. We have encountered a spell book.
Because we have a wizard.
Well, no. If you read these campaigns, a lot of them do have, this is a spell book, here are the spells. And it's like, damn, you can really flesh out a wizard character. Or, they're going to throw it in the goddamn lake because everybody's not a wizard.
In the campaigns where it hasn't come up, that's really more of a shortcoming of our campaigns. That was more like when we were playing earlier on, not quite getting it.
Yeah.
Just like the DM glossing over it and the wizard character not knowing to fight for it.
Right. And I think
except for the first time I played a wizard really, really early on with a DM we don't play with anymore. I remember I kept making a point to say, all right, we just killed a spellcaster. Do they have a spell book? Are there any spells? I kept asking for it. And you guys kept telling me to shut up because I was being too annoying.
Well,
It's like I got nothing. I was a wizard who literally would never get anything to learn. It's like, well, that's kind of the point of the class.
yeah.
So I'm still salty about that all these years later. But
Well, Kevin, that's how it worked. You wait till like 15th level and then you're a god.
No, I mean,
seven level.
this is 5th edition. But
I think that's fair. I mean, that's definitely frustrating. And I think that's, as you said, something that we are a little bit more aware of now as like, if you have a wizard in your campaign, throw them a spell every once in a while. You know, they
Right.
kill a spellcaster, let there be a spell book on there. And there's so many ways to limit it. Like the one that you gave us in Out of the Abyss had spells, I think up to 8th level.
Right.
And it had basically every spell you'd ever want to take as a wizard. It was a little extreme. It's been nice. But I think that if you don't want that, if you don't want to give that option to choose, which, I mean, it's a wizard, they should have the option to choose.
Right.
Their limit is their preparation.
right.
You know, there's ways to limit it. You can say, oh, you know, when you can be dumb, it doesn't matter. But when you killed them, it burnt up most of the spell book. But there's like 1 or 2 pages you can make out. You know, oh, their blood is covering it. So you know, you might be able to spend some time and with 3 times as much time as it took before, you can figure out what these spells are. And like, you know, there's if you want to limit it, you can. Don't completely rip it out. That isn't fun.
Right. Yeah, wizards, I think, really fall behind if they don't have that wide access of spells that they can learn.
Right.
So, yeah, there's kind of those general rules of thumb. You give wizards access to spells to copy. You let druids see a bunch of cool beasts for them to switch into. You let paladins smite some big, meaty, heavy thing. It's what you do. It's part of the fun.
Right.
That'd be a horrible dick DM move. Is just like tell the druid he's never seen anything out of the ordinary.
You were actually raised in the city, so
You were raised in the city. The coolest thing you ever saw was a bear at a circus, and it was a black bear, not a brown bear. How did I end up being a druid? I don't know. You chose that class, man. Yeah.
Oh, that actually reminds me. You're playing a druid in my campaign now. I've got a sheet that lets you track which animals you've seen.
What?
Yeah.
I don't even turn into animals, man.
You're probably not going to often, but in case it ever comes up, I feel like it'd be nice to have.
Yeah, outside of Moon, it's not a big thing.
No, for the most part, you'll be turning into squirrels,
Squirrels.
which is just...
You've never seen a squirrel. What?
There's one over there. I can see the squirrel.
I read your backstory, man. You never said you saw squirrels.
I grew up in the forest. Yeah, but like, does that forest have squirrels?
Never. Didn't write it down, buddy.
Yeah.
So don't be that DM. Work with your players. Make their classes work.
Yeah.
But also, don't give them spell books too much. You guys were like, I don't know. You were flirting with that idea. It's like, everybody's a wizard. Free spells for everybody.
Yeah, I think there's definitely ways to limit it. Out of the Abyss, that was a written thing to just here's this spell book, whatever you guys want to do with it, you can do with it. And I still don't think it's never felt overpowered. It's felt overwhelming at times where it's like, oh my God, I've got so many spells I can learn. What should I take? But I can't think of a single time where it's been like, wow, if we didn't have that spell book, this would have been a much harder encounter.
Last session.
Except for last session, where we're now at session like 50. I mean, one out of this many, it's fine.
But yeah, that is kind of an interesting justification for your little sorcerer world or sorcerer wizard combination. There's a huge amount of versatility, especially at higher levels when spell books start coming up.
Yeah.
And that actually could be a role-playing justification for your little dip. It's like, I found the best spell book in the world, and I don't know any of these damn words.
Right, you like start to realize your limitations. You're like, oh man, like I can cast fireballs like nothing, but I don't know how to read a single spell. Oh my God, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And just going from there. So I think there's a lot of times where in a sorcerer path, you would realize that you're not good at magic. You're good at magic, but you don't know magic. So it could be a thing. Wizard to sorcerer, don't like it. I don't like it at all. It doesn't make sense. There's no reason to go specifically for meta magic. I mean, there's some reason, but not good reason to go.
Yeah, it's going for wild magic sorcerer. Like Tides of Chaos is pretty great. That's where you could choose to give yourself advantage on a whole bunch. Not literally everything, but a whole bunch of things. You just choose to get it.
Ability checks, saving throws, and attack rolls.
Yeah, and then the next time a wild magic surge goes off, you get it back.
Right. Yeah. So
and then
it's kind of every time.
Yeah, but
it's everything.
Yeah. When it comes to going into wizard sorcerer like that, I think it's just inherently less interesting story-wise. So sorcerer to wizard, you are having your character make a choice to learn something more. the other way around, where you touch some unstable thing and now your magic's unstable, but you have Tides of Chaos and Wild Magic Surges. It's just something passively happening to your character. It's just kind of inherently less interesting.
I would totally agree. Totally
Imagine
agree
being the like effect that gave sorcerer powers to a wizard. It's like, you now have magical powers. Like, I had magical powers all my life. I've studied very heavily to be a wizard. What am I getting? It's like, oh, I thought you were something else.
Yeah, it would almost be a little offensive in
Yeah.
some ways. It's like, oh, you can craft magic the way you. Yeah, I didn't think that was that important, so I haven't really been focusing on it. I mostly just want more spells. Do you have that? Well, I guess it's a little more limiting.
I'm a stone of magic, man. I can't make you a more wizard. Come on. Give me a bone here. Is there a barbarian in your party you can trip over or something?
I've seen something around the celestial sorcerer. What is it? Divine soul, where people have basically twisted it, where it sounds like the exact same as the celestial warlock, where it is more of a choice, and it's like, oh, you're chosen by a celestial being to be a sorcerer now, and it's like, that feels like a warlock.
It really does.
That's too much warlock for me. Yeah,
That's the RP justification of a warlock.
right. It needs to be
Or
like,
a cleric if it's a full-blown god.
right. It needs to be like from birth. It's got to be a thing that like really.
Yeah, you
is
have
important.
blood of a celestial being in you.
Right. Exactly.
Like some great ancestor boned an angel and then
Which-
blood
which is like
line worked its way down to you.
real cool. You know,
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But if it's not coming up until you're a 10th level wizard, just scrap it. Save it for the next character. It's not worth it. I will say that role playing wise, just shadow magic and a necromancer wizard have at least some. They live in the same space.
They're the same color. That's about it.
They
man.
live the same color. That's yeah. I'm grasping at straws on that one, but it's something. Divination, as you said before, is like, of course, good for a wizard.
Yeah,
but
no,
I mean, that's
it's
always-
If you bring
that's a
up
default.
portent dice, you're just like copping out. That's a good
In case you are not familiar and haven't heard us say it, every single time wizard comes up, there's always we could dip 2 levels to get portent dice. That's always me who says it, so I'm making fun of myself.
Yeah,
here. It's,
that is exactly what you sound
yes,
like.
Exactly, yes. After long rest, you roll 2d20, you record them and set them aside, and then throughout the day, you could spend those d20 to replace another roll. Your roll, an enemy roll, an ally roll. So let's say you get the perfect thing, roll 1 and a 20. And then there's the big bad evil guy, and they really need to fail to save. You could say they rolled a 1, end of story. And then the paladin really needs to land that hit. Well, they rolled a 20. They're guaranteed. You got to crit, smite, do your whole thing. So portent dice is really awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
You get a
actually
second
one of
level
the.
wizard.
That's the only consistent way to like land failed saves. Which, God, that is powerful.
Unless they have legendary resistances, in which case they're like, "Yep, you just burned your portent die."
Yeah, of course. But you do force it.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is always important.
Yeah.
Important dice.
Oh,
Have we already made that joke?
Every time.
Man.
Oh,
Every time.
it gets funnier.
Yeah,
Every
I
time.
no, I thought it was funny. I split here.
So, okay, got some role playing reasons, got very few mechanical reasons. I think overall, this isn't too great.
No.
I'm not too excited by it.
No, I'm excited to see if we find another combination that's worse.
Ouch.
Yeah,
Ouch.
I guess I don't think so.
it's not coming up for me.
Yeah, we've done some bad ones, but it's an ice cream chuck.
I'd like some ice cream.
Well, go get the ice cream chuck.
You're supposed to just like bring it here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give me one of them Sonic the Hedgehog pops with the eyeball out.
I like the SpongeBob ones.
Choco Taco.
I feel like they're always just stale tasting.
I've never actually had a Choco Taco.
Why would that be your go-to?
It's
ice
just
cream
what
truck
popped
thing?
in my head. I thought it sounded good for a podcast, like Choco Taco.
Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I love Choco Tacos."
They're actually pretty good.
But
They
okay,
taste pretty great.
every time I've had one, it's been like a convenience store one that's been there for like 6 years.
Yeah, that's like packaged ice cream works, man.
Yeah, but like they're always really stale, and like the cone is like just falls apart, and I don't like that.
It's not good.
I want like a crunchy cone, especially with there's so many like hard consonant sounds. I expect crunch. Is that unreasonable? You're shaking your head like I'm absurd.
Dude, go to like
makes sense.
a boutique restaurant that makes fresh Choco tacos. It's not the worst idea I've heard.
Yeah, I think that would probably sell. You play up the nostalgia factor. You also play up the fact that it's delicious ice cream.
It doesn't taste like it's been in a freezer for 6 months.
Wow, I'll take 20
Here's $7.
and throw them in my freezer. Anything else about the Sorcerer Wizard? We want to move on.
Nah, I got nothing.
Okay. Anything else about ice cream trucks? Okay, guess we're done. Next for our monster of the week.
But before that,
Promotion?
yeah.
Oh, okay. So I see that you're listening to our podcast. I really appreciate that. You know what else I'd appreciate? If you followed us on Twitter, if you subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, if you went to our website, which is now up, monstersandmulticlass.com. If you told us that you cared about us, I'd really appreciate that. If you
Preferably in written form in one of the areas where it says leave a review.
right,
And
right.
then click the stars on the higher right side.
Yeah, if you found my dog Scrappy, who left when we were 5 and went to a farm.
You didn't have a dog named Scrappy.
You see, you have a dog now. Why don't you just use your real dog's name?
Because I
Jelly.
because she's upstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, we just doxed your dog.
No, you didn't give her full name, Jelly Bean.
Well, now you've done it.
Such a bad name for a dog.
All right, that's enough of this. On to our monster of the week.
Actually, no, that's not enough of it.
Oh.
We now have a subreddit.
Oh yeah,
No one's ever going to scrap.
There's, I think it would probably be the best place for a conversation.
Yeah,
Twitter is kind of limited. So within the comments of there, just a dedicated place to go to find the episode post, and it'll be very obviously there and comment on that. Because, we also post like D&D Next and stuff, but that ends up getting buried after a while.
right.
So just a thought. We're obviously not like super proud of it here.
We're just not good at the self-promotion thing.
No.
We're just like, put out some content. If people like it, cool. I don't know. I can't make you guys do anything.
All right, now we could actually move on.
I'm no influencer. All right.
This episode's monster is the Banderhobb from Volo's Guide to Monsters. This was recommended by Har's Bitch, who has had a lot of great recommendations. We keep doing their stuff, so thank you very much.
It was like all from one comment too.
Right, and yeah, there's
So-
a big list. It's like, oh, these are all great.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. So the Banderhobb is a giant frog creature, which we should probably stop to point out. This starts the Summer of the Frog.
Ribbit.
Even though we've already done the Frog Hemoth months ago, but this is
We're
the
just
Summer of the
gonna
Frog.
we're gonna change that episode to like just after this one, so we can keep up with the Summer of Frogs for longer. We're just gonna re-release it.
Oh,
Re-release.
people will love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So why is it the Summer of the Frog? Well, because the Banderhobb's kind of froggy, and then like our next 3 monsters are kind of froggy.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey,
Let's just lean into
let's
this.
make it a thing.
Yeah. Summer of the Frogs.
Yeah.
There you
But
go.
it's like late July, so it's like the time period of the frogs. The summer, early fall of the frogs.
Yeah.
It's
good enough,
It
man.
doesn't matter. So the Banderhobb in 5th edition, it's actually almost sounds like more of a summon. So hags initially learned how to create these things, and they'll pass the ritual on to others for usually really big prices. Hags always have. And it can be given very specific instructions to go hunt something down or ruin someone's day or capture somebody. They make for interesting monsters in that sense. They're very dangerous hunters. But it doesn't really quite seem like something you would just randomly run into out in the wilderness.
No, not at all. Honestly, that was the first thing that I picked up from all this lore. There is no reason why you would just like stumble across a Banderhobb, just be walking around and it would be jumping out and try and kill you. If you have been the mark of the Banderhobb, you pissed somebody off really, really bad. Which
Right.
in D&D, if PCs do one thing really, really well, it's pissing people off. So
yeah.
I think you're going to have a lot of opportunities to use this. It's not going to be a random encounter per se, but I mean it's not a absolutely terrifying challenge rating, only at 5. So I am having a hard time thinking of it actually a good time to use this. If a low-level party has pissed off somebody enough that they can contact a hag or maybe they pissed off a hag and
yeah.
that's basically it. It's
Yes.
kind of limited there.
And I'd say we almost should have talked about this during our hag series.
Oh,
If you think about it, because it makes perfect sense there. So you have your hag, who's like, maybe it's kind of a mini campaign, and the hag's the big bad evil guy of the campaign, and your party is way too low to handle the hag. This is kind of a mini boss getting up to it, and the hag starts realizing, all right, this party's starting to cause some problems. Let me summon a Banderhobb and send
Take
it after
care of
him.
him. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think the Annis hag was the one that was like specifically would gather other monstrosities to help it out.
Yeah.
That was the mountain one.
Yeah.
So
that was the big beefy one,
Right.
That hit like a truck.
yeah, I think that would actually be, though any hag would honestly work, I think that one specifically was, the flavor really fit well for
Right.
summoning other creatures to take care of its dirty work.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. If a hag is going to be your arc or your whatever campaign, maybe a bit big for a campaign. Coven of Hags could be,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, the Banderhobb definitely works.
The Mark of the Banderhobb. It's a great campaign, man. Full
A
camp-
chapter in the
No.
campaign. No, full campaign is leading up to a level 5 or challenge rating 5 fight.
I will also say this: he is really squishy.
Well, yeah, he's a frog.
And his stats
Like a
really
toad.
reflect that.
Yeah, his yes, armor class 15, HP of 84.
80, like even
Around
that's,
challenge rating
that's
5.
pretty easy to melt.
That sounds about right, but we're talking about like your party should probably be level 3 to make this a difficult fight.
And he's got a lot of scary things that he can do to people.
Right. And I think that's more where it comes out. It's like this is going to be like 2 rounds of combat, but it's going to be some scary 2 rounds. First thing is it's very stealthy. So this is something that you'd expect to creep up on your party with a +7 to its stealth. And definitely get like the drop. So I would expect a surprise round on the Banderhobb, or for the Banderhobb. And I think it instantly becomes interesting when it has its Shadow Step ability. Did you guys see that one at all?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's actually a thing that's brought up multiple times, and it's a cool, albeit a little bit edgy ability for anything to have.
Yeah, so Banderhobb magically teleports 30 feet to an unoccupied space of dim light or darkness. Before or after teleporting, it can make a bite or tongue attack. So I could see a situation where you put your party in the frying pan. I don't know. You put them on the burner. Let's go with that. Ooh, can make a boiling frog reference there somewhere. But so the Banderhobb gets a surprise round, runs right up to somebody, makes the bite attack, and I guess they can't swallow them, can they? They can grapple them though with the tongue attack. Is that right? They can pull them somewhere.
The tongue and their bite both grapple.
Okay,
but then they
right.
have to bite again to swallow.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so you could move up tongue attack, which is 15-foot reach, 3d6 necrotic damage. They make a DC 15 strength saving throw. On a fail, the target is pulled within 5 feet of the Banderhobb, and it can then use its bonus action to make a bite, which grapples them. So if both of those hit, you are moving somebody very far away. You are then grappling them, and then if you teleport, would they teleport with them? Or would you expect them not to teleport with them?
Are they grappled?
Yes.
I would probably say teleport with them.
Okay. It doesn't specifically say. I'm almost wondering if the bite, the expectation is that you bite them and it's literally like you're holding on, because I think once you bite, you can't bite anything
Right,
else.
yeah, you're holding them in your mouth.
Yeah, you can't bite, attack, or tongue attack on another target. So they're holding them in their mouth. It doesn't specifically say that you teleport with them, though. So I'm really wondering if that would. If the
Well,
Shadow Step works with that.
These things are large. They're supposed to be big, beefy frogs. So when I imagine the restrained condition of that bite, I imagine like legs dangling out of the mouth.
Right.
And if you don't want to do that thing kind of teleporting, they can swallow them, and then I would 100% say they teleport with this Banderhobb.
Yes. No, I would agree.
And that's the thing. This is probably the only really unique thing about this character is it's almost a like kidnapping device.
Right.
Because instead of dying in the stomach, they automatically stabilize once they hit 0. That's kind of a weird feature and doesn't really lend itself to a natural occurrence.
I actually
Right.
didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So with the swallow, just go over the mechanics of that. So swallow, it's an action. Make a bite attack against a medium or smaller creature that is grappled. If it hits, they're swallowed. The grapple ends. So they're no longer grappled. They become blinded and restrained, which is worse. They take 3d6 necrotic damage at the start of the Banderhobb's turn, and as Will just pointed out, if they're reduced to 0 HP, they stop taking the necrotic damage and become stable. So they
Yeah,
can-
and then the Banderhobb could choose to regurgitate whatever in their stomach.
Okay, so then they could just spit them out and be like, next, let me get you.
But more likely, if they're doing that, that's not a really good offensive ability. But if you want to take someone away,
Right.
Yeah.
he can just like teleport into the distance like shit. Our friend just got eaten by a frog.
Right. It's a good way to take somebody out of a session. They need to leave next week. Like,
There's a Banderhobb.
yep. Why are they specifically targeting Mark? I don't know.
Mark's business trip got canceled. The Banderhobb comes out of nowhere and just throws him up and runs away.
I do think it's interesting that it doesn't have a way to regurgitate the creatures except for being dropped to 0 HP itself or wanting to regurgitate it.
Okay, yeah.
Like there's usually a lot of times it's like if you deal 50 damage in
yeah.
a turn or whatever, then it'll spit them out.
So
But I
if
think-
you deal 50 damage in a turn, the Banderhobb's probably dead.
right,
That's the reason I think
Right.
they omitted this
but it
one.
could be 20, it could be 10, whatever. I mean, it doesn't have anything. It also usually means from inside, and I think if you're restrained and blinded, can you even attack?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go for it, bud.
Restrained does not.
Disadvantage.
Okay, I always forget if
Yeah.
restrained stops you from attacking in general.
No, just disadvantage.
Okay. So, I mean, part of me is like, you just have the tank just kind of sacrifice themselves, just go ahead and get swallowed, and then just go to town on them. It'll take like a turn or two. They'll probably be fine.
Yeah. Where I think this would be more interesting instead of just a straight up fight where the party pissed off a hag, they send the Banderhobb after them, and the Banderhobb's trying to kill them or whatever. More in the lines of like an escort thing. You have an NPC you need to protect, and somebody's trying to get the NPC.
Right.
So then the Banderhobb shows up with the attempt to, their entire goal is to swallow them and then just get out of there.
I think that's a great idea. So now you've got a much more reasonable quest that doesn't rely on your PC pissing off a hag. You have
Right.
somebody who went back on a deal, or they did
Right.
something to upset a hag in some way.
Yeah. Or maybe not even a hag, just somebody who learned the
Somebody
ritual
else.
from a hag. Because
Yeah.
we'll say the hags will teach this ritual.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very good point. That gives you a lot more versatility in how you use this.
Right. And then you're also not dealing with the kind of bullshit of a player now not being able to play for a while, where
Right.
the rest of the party has to go hunt down the Banderhobb
Yeah.
and save them.
Definitely.
Whether you just kind of sit there like shrugging, like, this is fun.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
showed up
wait,
today.
wait. You could like put a sleeping bag on them upside down so they get the feeling of what it's like to be eaten by the
Oh,
Banderhobb.
your player?
Yes,
Ooh.
the flavor's there. They can't complain.
You fill it with Vaseline.
Oh, the
Like, just-
Oh, and you can use it for other stuff. Whenever anybody gets swallowed, and you're just like, up into the Vaseline sleeping bag.
You haven't watched that in months.
I know. That's what it feels like.
Oh, I'm glad you guys are enjoying my purple worm campaign. Everybody's just sitting around with Vaseline bags on their heads. We're really doing a great job of making the games feel more immersive.
Right.
And I think that's the key.
Yeah, some people just play like a YouTube video of fantasy music.
Right.
We thrust people into Vaseline sleeping bags.
Yes.
Then punch the
Vaseline
shit.
mixed with sulfuric acid, of course.
Oh, for the-
They're taking acid.
Just
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit, not enough to hurt them.
No.
Just
a
enough
nice-
for the singeing.
nice
right,
burn.
and stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We'll probably have to get special sleeping bags so it doesn't melt that, but I'm sure there's material it doesn't interact with.
That's going to be a weird conversation for the sleeping bag salesman. Anything that can simulate the digestive tract of a giant worm.
The sleeping bag salesman?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
At Sleeping Bag Co.
they got one at Dick's.
They do?
Yeah.
That's what, he's not like camping. He's just specifically
Just sleeping bags, man. A lot of variety in that particular niche.
Really need a guide.
There is actually a lot of variety, but regardless, yeah, once you get in the realm of backpacking, yeah. But it's not important.
I don't think we mentioned, but it is definitely important to, is that the Banderhobbs are fantastic trackers. So it would not be I don't know how, at this point it feels too late to bring it up, but it still should be mentioned. They can track down any creature within a mile that they have a piece of. So if they have a lock of hair, an object of that person's possession, they can track them down as long as they're within a mile. Even if you tried to, let's say, just run away from it, you've got that NPC and you're like, let's bolt, this is not our problem. It's going to find you again. It's not like, we'll just kind of put a Band-Aid on that.
The interesting thing about this character, I think, is that it has nothing really that unique. It's just an interesting combination of stuff that exists in different monsters.
I don't think you see Swallow at low levels.
No, that's
very often
semi-uncommon. So you got weird Swallow, you got a range attack, you've got this weird Revenant-style tracking. It's all kind of muted, but it's a great thing for low levels.
Yeah, and I think it definitely puts a certain type of stress on the PCs when you get swallowed at such a low level. Dealing 3d6 necrotic damage per Banderhobb turn is actually pretty intense.
Especially when you're out of the fight.
Right. I mean, they're not entirely out, though. They can still make attacks, just at disadvantage.
Very well.
It's something. But I mean, again, against a level 3 party, or even lower, and I could see this being a fight that I wouldn't feel too, maybe level 2 would be tough. You're going to kill the wizard in like one bite there.
Yeah, they bite like a truck.
Yeah. Okay, so level 3, level 4, I think around there is probably the sweet spot. And it's not about making your entire party feel that pressure, but at least one person who has been swallowed and is now being very quickly dropped to 0 after a bite and a swallow attack, which does a bite beforehand, if that wasn't said already. So the bite itself is, 5d6 plus 5? That's a ton of damage. So we're going to have 2 of those to swallow. You now got 10d6 plus 10 damage. That's going to kill a lot of players outright.
Yeah, you're looking at 44 damage, and then you're, unlike what you said, basically out of the fight, blinded and restrained, especially at low levels.
It's going to take
44 health down. That's
probably a turn to get you to incapacitated.
And then you're at the mercy of the Banderhobb.
Yeah. So definitely easy to take out an NPC. Definitely a stressful fight for a PC. I don't think if the Banderhobb was sticking around for whatever reason, it'd still be a good fight. It's definitely not going to be impossible for them to win by any means. It's going to be pretty easy for them to win, but you're also going to spook the heck out of one of your PCs when they get dropped to 0 in like 2 turns.
Right. In regards to the swallow thing, there's the 1/4 or 1/8 beast giant frog, which does have the swallow ability.
Oh, okay.
So it does come in early. That's only small though, small or less, but
oh, so your halfling is going to be
just like only being a dick to your gnomes and halflings. It's a swarm of giant frogs. Everybody gets eaten, unless you're normal sized.
In which case, you're totally fine.
Totally fine.
So the Banderhobb though, it surprisingly is very similar to the Frog Hemoth, just half the challenge rating. I was just pulling that up, which we had an episode quite a while ago where we talked about it.
That was the Springer Frogs.
And looking through it, it has a tentacle attack instead of a tongue attack. It has its bite attack. It has its swallow. Well, it also has a tongue attack. I mean, there's some differences and stuff, and it's obviously like hits harder and
it doesn't
attack.
have the tracking abilities, but stat block wise,
right? But even lore wise, so the Banderhobb's this otherworldly thing that's summoned. The Frog Hemus is this otherworldly thing. Why no one's sure why it exists.
Oh, okay.
It's like they're not just like these natural beasts or anything like that. It just kind of feels like a lesser Frog Hemoth.
So I could think of ways to completely ignore the written text of the Banderhobb and use that in a more in a larger setting of like saying that the Banderhobb like will turn into a Frog Hemoth, and it's like, oh, that explains the Frog Hemoth now, and this is just like a baby Frog Hemoth. I say
it's Pokemon basically.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the pictures, it even looks like the Frog Hemoth would be the evolution of the Banderhobb.
Yeah. Hey, it's okay.
That's fine.
There's a lot of that in D&D. Yeah. It's like, and then it turns into this, and then it turns into this bigger one. I'm not going to get into it, but Slods, now that you said that, are definitely just Pokemon.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that in a later episode.
A final note to mention is the mysterious Shadow Realm comes back here. Apparently, there's a secret tower where all the Banderhobbs go after they die.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we should have mentioned that the Banderhobbs really only last, like, I think it was like 7 days.
They said several days. As soon as they're done, they go home.
Yeah.
They just turn into goo and just like disappear.
So you do kind of need a story reason for these things to come about, but there is apparently a tower of these monstrosities. So
That'd be terrible to stumble into.
anything in the Shadow Realm, which is a much
Shadowfell.
no, it's much cooler to call it the Shadow Realm. Like that entire place sucks. It's just like a tower of everything you never wanted to run into, and it's just full of them. So,
I would really like a campaign set in the Shadowfell, or like that centers around it.
with the Raven Queen and stuff.
Yeah, I guess I want it to have the Shadowfell fleshed out a little more, because I feel like in 5e lore, it's just not really there.
No,
It keeps on getting referred to by like this abstract thing, but it sounds like not only something you can go to, but like something that you can walk around. Like it has things, it has land. It's not just like bats flying around and there's a tower that on a large spire that
No,
you
it's
have
a
to
full
fly to
realm.
get to. Yeah, it's just like
It's
totally
like the
normal
opposite
place.
of the Feywild.
Right. So it's like I would really enjoy some campaigns, some Wizards of the Coast books, just really fleshing those out.
And then what's that other one where it's even worse? Where if you go there,
Oh, the negative plane or whatever.
yeah,
We did the horrifying like
I'm drawing a blank
Stranger
on it.
Things monster, where like if you screw with it, it just like pops into your world and never stops killing everything.
yeah.
Oh.
What's the name of that? Nightwalker.
I think it's the Nightwalker.
The Nightwalker.
Yeah, it's like it was in Mordecai's. Sure of that.
That was the
But,
edgiest place ever. It's just like the only flavor currently in 5e is like it just immediately kills you
yeah,
unless you're
What's
crazy.
challenge
powerful.
rating 20?
so it should.
The negative plane. Yeah, that's what
Negative
it's called.
plane.
So yeah, Shadowfell and the negative plane. And
Shadowfell is like a real place
Right.
with like semi-nice but
Yeah.
evil things.
Semi-nice? I think it's mostly just evil. Like,
Eh,
I don't think we're like getting
I'm not
buddy
gonna
buddy.
I'm not going to moralize here.
All right.
It's a lifestyle choice to be a Shadowfellian.
All right. I mean, I think that's everything around the Banderhobb. Anything else?
nope.
That's all I got.
Cool. Thanks for listening.
Next time on Monsters and Multiclass.
Join us next time as we discuss the Bard Warlock and the Bullywugs from the Monster Manual, as well as the Ghosts of Saltmarsh.